You know what sound that is, folks. You betcha. It's another Noon Whistle. I'm Chris Stradier.
And I'm John Anzalone, and we're here today with Todd Ghilani, head football coach of Elkhorn Area High School, also middle school counselor and AVID teacher and alumni.
Oh, man.
How we doing, guys?
Good. Welcome, Todd.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Well, let's get going. Let's talk a little Todd Ghilani, talk a little Elkhorn, and we'll roll on from there, right, Chris?
I love it. You know, John, did you know that Coach Ghilani is the first head coach to have on the Noon Whistle?
You know what? You're right. It's good to be number one.
It's quite our honor.
It is our honor. You know what? And I was looking for pictures that we could put up, but this was.
Look at that good-looking guy.
Lots of pounds ago.
And kids and work and all the other things.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep. Little
Todd,
life behind you.
Yeah. So Todd, tell us a little bit, as we get started, for those viewers who don't know you, give a little background. Growing up in Elkhorn, Northern Illinois football. I heard you beat a pretty important team when you were at Northern Illinois, and then kind of just transition why you wanted to become a coach.
Sure. So as you said, born and raised in Elkhorn, graduated in the class of 2000, proudly, and then attended Northern Illinois University, played football for 4 years, and graduated from Northern. Had an awesome athletic career there. It was a very transformative time, and a transformative time in Northern's football history. Joe Novak had taken over. He was in the fourth year of being there when I got there, and they finally turned it around. They went through the nation's longest losing streak, I think 23 or 24 games in a row. And then my freshman year was the first winning season in 10 years. And then by the time we were done there, we were ranked as high as 10th in the nation. We'd beaten teams like Alabama, Maryland, Iowa State. We were in theory like a Big Ten team as far as what we brought to the table. We were a huge offensive line. I was 6'3", 300 pounds, and I was the little guy on the line. And then had an awesome career there, great experiences. Ended up getting a job at Richmond Burton Community High School, just over the border, just south of Genoa City. Worked there for 13 years as a health and driver's ed teacher. Coached all those years in high school, and then got my master's in school counseling, and was looking for a school counseling job, having tons of interviews everywhere, and honestly never thought in a million years, and never thought that I would come back to Elkhorn. It just, not that I didn't want to, it was never a part of my vision until it was. And super happy to be in this school district, to work for awesome people and people who value their employees, and just really happy. And then 4 years ago, I took over the head football coaching job at Elkhorn. So very honored to do that, considering the tradition that was laid before me with Paul Yankee and Dean Wilson and Tom Lee. So I don't take it lightly.
Well, when you came back to town, you came all in. Like, you came back and were employed here, became the football coach. Your wife Heather teaches at the high school. Your family's here. You moved here. You built a house here. Like, when you came back all in.
I only know one way to do it, and that way for being a coach, whether I was a head coach or an assistant coach, is to be fully invested in the community that you serve. And I did that at Richmond. We moved to Spring Grove, Illinois, which feeds into Richmond, Illinois, or Richmond Burton School District, and it just makes sense. And for me, that's what makes sense. And to have my kids go to the same district that I teach in and work in, and they're able to see us more than just at home.
Yeah.
Like, my kids grow up in the old phrase, they grow up in a gym. And there are worse places for them to be, and we're always at sporting events, and that's how we want to raise our kids, and that's why we made those decisions. And
you're more than a football guy. Like, you in high school, you weren't just a football guy, right?
I played 3 sports. I lettered 9 times. I played football in the fall, obviously basketball in the winter, and baseball in the spring. Yeah.
I hate to age myself, but I was coaching when you went through high school.
Yes, you were. You were on that baseball staff for sure.
Oh, I'm like, holy cow, where did those years go? But yeah, no, you did it all. You played basketball, baseball, football, and we're good at all of them. And then some people you played with at Northern Illinois, like you had some good players, including yourself on that team that played at high levels.
Yeah, it wasn't a coincidence that we had success there. I mean, I think after my senior year, if you count just the class before me and my class, I think we had 15 to 17 kids that made tryouts with NFL teams.
Wow.
And I had one with the Dallas Cowboys, and we have like 6 or 7 stick in the NFL. One get drafted in the 4th round. A couple others get drafted in the 6th and 7th round. So, I mean, it wasn't a mistake. Joe Novak did a great job of bringing guys in. He wanted to put a 4-hour radius around DeKalb, Illinois, and those are the kids he wanted to recruit. He didn't want to do it the JUCO way and the quick way, and he saw the program growing with culture and the environment that they're providing, and he wanted to bring Midwest kids to a Midwest town.
So Coach, before John mentioned your wife, who's now also, you talk about being invested. She's now the head softball coach, varsity softball coach, and by the way, in the UW Whitewater Hall of Fame as a softball. Yes. And
I married up.
Yeah. Yes. Most of us do.
Absolutely, I'll kick my coverage.
But so like let's pivot off of your accolades and obviously, you talked about what you've done, and I remember you also saying that as a student at the high school, you also participated in some fine arts, I believe, too.
Yep.
So pretty well-rounded student. Let's transition into, tell us like what do you value and what are kind of like the big pillars of the football program that you guys put forward more on kind of your culture?
Sure. We talk about, I always say, first I say to the coaches and the coaching staff, and then this is relayed to the kids. If all we did when your 4 years are done in the Elkhorn football program is teach you football, then we failed. Because we're trying to create young men by the time that they leave our program. We want them to know that community matters, that, my mission statement, I have it printed up here and I wanted to read it to you. Our mission is to make a commitment to excellence and take the student athlete where they cannot go themselves. We will create an environment that teaches young men to achieve academic success while establishing an effective foundation of leadership, learn to value the serving of the community, develop their athletic ability through a tremendous strength and agility program, and relentlessly pursue to win the Southern Lakes Conference Championship. So again, we're just trying to take kids where they can't take themselves, and lead them in that direction.
And I think it's no secret, Todd, and I guess comment on this, that kids that are invested that way and kids that are becoming not only good athletes but good people, and kids that pay attention to community and the classroom are better teams. Like together, they just create better teams.
Well, yeah, and I believe in the data too behind that. Like you look at a successful start of a football program or football season, you look at the discipline referrals in that high school, and they're down because the football team ends up kind of controlling and policing those types of behaviors in the school, because we talk about those things regularly, and we talk about what's acceptable and what's not acceptable. And I always tell the guys, I go, I'm the first person that's going to know. I go, they're going to tell me if something goes wrong and the football player's involved, I'm going to know. And so I try to get them to lead by example for all the other kids. And when the football team's leading that way, a lot of times everybody else falls in line.
And I will tell you, as a former high school principal for 16 years, that data is probably rock solid, because not only is that true when you see your football team and your young men who the community sees representing the front of the jersey being more important than the back of the jersey, and and modeling that in the classrooms. Also, successful football program really starts your school year off in an amazing way with school spirit. So what as you've taken over, you look back your 4 years, like what have been some of your kind of challenges, or like just things you wrestle with as a coach? Not everybody can give the cliche answers about the external factors and people, but just more getting to know you as a coach. Like, what are you trying to really work through as a coach?
Yeah, I mean, a couple of the big things is just improving numbers, right? When I took over, I think we had somewhere around 67, 68 kids in the program. That number's up over 100 this year, which is fantastic. Our goal from youth to the high school is we want to have 30 kids in every group. So if we go 30, 30, 30, for 4 times, we've got 120. And we know through attrition, and football is not for everybody, that number is going to go down. So our goal is, as a program, is just to be around 100 or over 100 every single year. So we've already accomplished that in 4 years. Another big thing is, when I took over, the youth program was struggling for numbers as well. I mean, I think we were at 80 some kids in the middle 80s, and now we're over 225 kids, 1st through 8th grade, which is huge. And again, we're just trying to get as many opportunities for kids to come and be around an environment and culture that's successful and fun to be around. And as we keep going, if we keep those numbers up, that's a big thing. And then the last thing is multi-sport athletes. We're a school of 1,000 kids, 1,100 kids. Like we can't, specialization is, I struggle with that. That's something that I didn't know. I mean, when I was growing up, and I told you before, I played 3 sports, and that I don't think kids all need to play 3 sports, but my parents are like, you're going to get a job or you're going to be active playing sports. Pick one. So,
yeah, baseball program really impacts that. So,
so last year we had 85% of our kids in multi-sport athletes.
That's great.
It's something that we just push, and I even have intentional conversations with those 15% that why aren't we doing this? Like, pick something. I don't care what it is.
Yeah. And, even it could be the musical. It could be, anything like that, right? It could be forensic. It's like, get involved.
Yep.
Yeah. Stretch yourself. Do something that teaches you to be comfortable being uncomfortable. And yeah,
we had 2 or 3 kids in the musical last year with big roles.
That's
so
great.
I was very happy about that.
Hey, Todd, I was gonna, one of the things that I always think about is, and this data, you talk about data. And we're talking obviously about just engagement, right? Getting kids out and connecting kids to their school and other adults and the team and, the GPA nationally. And we ran this years ago at Elkhorn for students who are engaged in a co-curricular is 1.0 higher than their counterparts who don't. But building that kind of idea, what do you like most about your team right now? Here you're in your 4th year. Right. What's your, what do you really enjoy the most about the kids you have now?
I'm just really, really passionate about the senior class. They're a group that started at 28 and they're down to 12. So there's your attrition, right? And honestly, they went through the culture change.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So I'm setting new standards, new bars, all those different things. And, 16 of those kids didn't want to meet those standards. And, for lack of a better word or phrase, it's kind of trimming the fat, right? And I've got 11 to 12 kids that just want to kick people's butt. And they've gone through the tough, like last year we went 0-7 in conference. And they fought tooth and nail in every game. We didn't get blown out. They were literally 1-score games for 5 or 6 of those games. So they've gone through the battles in the trenches and they know what it takes to win. And I'm so excited with the success that we're having this year because it's coming to fruition. All their hard work that they put in the off season, in our weight room, the off season leadership council, all those different things that we do that eventually lead to success are happening for this group. So I'm really
Todd,
excited.
do you find being that the senior class was your first class as a head coach, correct?
Yep.
Do you find that not only do they get it in the process and the standard, that they're passing that down to juniors, sophomores, freshmen?
Absolutely. And that's something that we intentionally talk about. What's your legacy? When you leave here, what are the kids that were freshmen going to say about you because you were a part of this program and you were one of the leaders of the program? Those were things that I thought about. We talk about culture and environment. I remember the Will Pappas and the Quinn Mullikins, and I can list go on. And I was one of those knucklehead kids behind the scoreboard playing touch football during a football game.
Oh yeah, you're one of those.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So it's just such that culture and environment of our kids being invested, the younger kids being invested in what we're doing is so important, critical to just continue the success. because now the standard's been raised. Right.
So do you think when you say success, Todd, you think success looks different depending on where your program's at?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Like, you know, I listened to a podcast last year about Lance Leipold. What's his name? He's on Fox. It's fantastic. He runs a podcast, and he's talking about the early success of Lance Leipold. There's 4 ways to win and lose a game. You lose big, you win big. You lose small, you win small. A lot of schools want to skip that second spot of losing small. We did that the last 2 years. We became competitive through, retraining our guys and making winning plays on the football field. You stack winning plays, now you win small, right? And then you stack even more winning plays, you win big. So I think that, those things are intentional. We talk about them. Our kids can all have that coach speak back to people if they were interviewed, because they're regularly talked about in our program.
Yeah.
So we're at about that time. Before we go into thank yous and shout outs, I just want to, John follows the Vegas lines pretty close, and he's been curious about what are you thinking the teams in the conference 1, 2, 3, 4? Obviously we know Elkhorn.
Loaded question, Chris. Come on.
I know you got that itch. You want the line. You gotta fill that. So
well, until someone beats Badger, they're the team to beat.
Got it.
Coach Hensley does a fantastic job with those kids. He's got the right guys pulling the trigger. JP Doyle is one of the best players in the conference. He's returning player of the conference as a senior. And so again, until someone knocks them off, they're the chief of the block there.
I've noticed that the Westosha head coach is not making any friends to the West based on or just some other programs that he's kind of keeping the pedal down after the win. So
they're very talented. And again, they're pulling the trigger. Brock Hoppel is phenomenal. He's up for a National Player of the Week award.
Nice.
He threw 9 touchdown passes 2 weeks ago. So
all right.
They're going to be tough to stop. So our conference is very good. You've got to bring it every single week. Records don't really matter. Everyone knows what we do. So I like that, because we run what we do at every single level of our youth and in through our younger levels of our program. And people need to know what we do to stop it. So, and we've proven that it's tough to stop our offensive line, because our offensive line is pretty tough this year.
That's good. All right, quick, before we close out here, a couple shout outs. You got about 30 seconds around the table. Give us a shout out or a thank you, Coach Ghilani.
Well, I think I don't know if I can get through this without shouting out my wife. There is a plaque that has been handed down from her dad to us. Her dad was a former head coach at Hampshire High School in Illinois, won 2 state championships as an assistant there. So the lineage of coaching football in her family is huge. And that this plaque says, "We interrupt this marriage for football season." So, I would be remiss if I did not bring up my wife. I love her dearly, and she's going to go through this in the spring, so I can't wait.
John, what do you got, buddy?
Hey, I'm doubling up. Todd, congrats on a great start to your season this year. Fun to watch. Kids are playing hard. And then I want to shout out to Bruce and Sarah Lechner from Riverjack Bar and Grill. They just made a big donation of school supplies to the district. So thank them for taking time to do that.
I'm going to give a quick shout out to all the fall coaches who are probably, once they get their paycheck, are probably working for about 30 cents an hour, but they're making a difference with kids, and they're dedicating their life to making every kid that walks through our school district and school districts around the country a better version of themselves. So thank you to all of you. And on that note, we'll sign off with the normal whistle. Todd, have a good rest of your season. Keep fighting the fight. And John, we'll talk to you soon. Take care.
All right. Thanks a lot, Todd.
Yeah, thank you guys. Appreciate it.